Anybody get an alert from YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook? I am eyeballing our YouTube right now. Anyone?
Not seeing it yet, but that doesn't mean it isn't coming.
We're going to go. Hey, everybody. I am Jim Gaston. We are on the Reboot today with Dave. Start them off. Introduce yourself.
I'm David Luft with LDD Consulting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Hi, I'm Adam Pittman from Computerabilities out of Cary, North Carolina.
And I'm Dave Groot with WinStar Technologies in Culpeper, Virginia.
And I'm Stephanie Groot with WinStar in Culpeper, Virginia.
Brandon Bowers with Zentech Data Systems out of sunny South Florida.
Brian Bradsky, B&L PC Solutions, Brentwood, Long Island, New York.
Save the best for last. Ryan Heisler, Computeries, St. Louis area.
I'll say, Brian, add that little flavor in there. He's got to add some flavor every time, doesn't he, guys? So, again, I'm Jim Gast, and I'm with SpliceNet here in Cincinnati. And why we do the Reboot is to help business owners reevaluate decisions that they've made or evaluate decisions that they're about to make, and just overall in their business. It might be technology, it might be marketing, it might be accounting, it might be human resources, it might be finance or whatever, right? Some benefits. We're trying to help business owners evaluate their own decisions. And as all of us are, we're all business owners. We're all technology company business owners. We have to go through these evaluation processes ourselves. So we decided to get together and offer up some reboots every other week. So today, what are we going to talk about today, Adam?
So today, I think we're going to talk about multi-factor authentication and why it's important.
Okay. So just give us a quick definition of multi-factor authentication. Maybe give a quick use scenario, how somebody would understand what it would be.
Absolutely. You know, I think that most people are probably using it and don't even realize it. In essence, basically, when you go to your bank and you log into your bank, it usually asks you a question that maybe only you know, and that's what you know, and that's part of multi-factor authentication. So you're probably using it already and don't realize it.
Yep. I think another example could be like I have to use face recognition to get into my iPhone. Some people have a PIN that they put in. But when I go to my bank app on my iPhone, I also have it prompt me for a PIN or a facial recognition too. So it's kind of not exactly the same, but it's at least one more authentication I have to do before I get into my software.
Absolutely.
So all right. So tell us what's important about it and why it does it replace passwords, Adam?
So I want to start off talking about that, exactly that. It does not replace passwords. It should not replace passwords. I want to talk about the power of the password. I mean, password strengths, we're not really good at it as people. We want to do something we can remember. Password's been around forever, from the very beginning of computer systems. And, we just don't use complex passwords, although we should. But, the password's a great tool, but it failed us.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I think the password hasn't failed us. It's the people.
It's probably
the biggest reason behind that is because they use the same password over and over and over and over again. Right? So if you use a password somewhere and that place gets hacked, then your password is available for logging somewhere else.
We spoke about that, though, on the last reboot. The one thing, though, is whether a password is good or not. If there's a situation where that password still gets compromised, what's protecting that account?
That's right.
Right. I'd argue that, though, Dave. I would a little bit, and I'll tell you why. LinkedIn. So LinkedIn got hacked years ago, right? And the password that I used back then was stolen, right? And by the hackers and put out on the dark web, and somebody found that password. Now, they didn't get into anything else but my LinkedIn account. Okay. So, it was a nice long 8-character password, but it doesn't matter because they stole those passwords from LinkedIn. It's not always a person failure.
I mean, that just means you got lucky, Jim. That doesn't mean that the possibility wasn't there for somebody to use that password to log into another site if multi-factor authentication was not enabled, right?
Yeah, you're right.
You just kind of got lucky.
They didn't get lucky because you probably don't use the same password for all of your accounts.
No.
So, and that's where most people fail.
That's right.
Or they use some simple derivative of that same password.
Still
Because
today, over 80% of the people in the population use the same password for more than one application. And that's not only in a personal respect, it's in business too.
that's
guys-
the norm. That's the norm, Dave. Yeah.
It really is. You guys are going to hate me, or maybe you won't. I don't know. Most people, when I preach about passwords, I said forget and reset. That's my rule. Forget and reset. I don't use password managers, and I don't care if I forget a password. I can always reset a password. So, like on an Amazon that I might have, or an eBay that I might have, I might not know the password. I forgot it, and you know what? I'm going to reset it.
Yeah, where's that reset going though, right?
Yeah, that's a
tool?
good
I know.
discussion. Exactly. So what happens if they got access to your mailbox? So they
Yeah,
have
you're
access to your email. Now they're just going to reset whatever passwords for sites, services,
Reset your mail
anything
password and
else.
then get you out of it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And you know what? That's a nice segue for you, Adam, to get right into multi-factor authentication.
That's exactly why we need multi-factor authentication. And I can't imagine that anybody here would disagree with me when I say it's the most important place to put it, or the very first place you should put it is, in fact, on your email, whether it's Google, Gmail, or Office 365, whatever. You really need that on there. It's very important.
One and all email accounts.
One
So if
and
you're-
all
yeah,
email
yeah.
accounts. That's
If you
right.
have multiple email accounts, you want to multi-factor protect each one of them.
That's right. The entire administration, the entire tenant. Yep.
Keeping in mind too that, like in many cases, when you have an email account at one of these free email providers or otherwise, they also include the ability for you to put in a recovery email address, right? That needs to be MFA'd as well.
Absolutely.
What about a recovery text message or something like that? Have you guys seen much of that?
A what text message?
Like a text message, so you can get a text message to your cell phone?
That is, they'll take either a mobile or they'll take an email for a recovery.
Yeah.
And I recommend you put in both, right?
Right.
And I think some of the importance on these, these Gmail accounts out there and these other ones, Gmail accounts gives you access to a full suite of products and services. So not only if you don't have multi-factor enabled on your email account, not only is that not protected, now you've opened up all your documents, spreadsheets, anything you've shared with other people, that's all vulnerable just by not enabling one multi-factor on that account.
And so to take it one step further, so let's say you're talking about Office 365 that may be integrated with your office or work environment, which whether that's SharePoint, Active Directory, whatever technical, jargon you want to go to where all of the business data is stored. So now they got access to your mailbox, but then they have access to now all of your business financial data. What can they do with that? So
yeah, email is the keys to the kingdom. So let's walk through. One of the things I put out on our LinkedIn post is we're going to talk about Microsoft 365, and I don't want to go too in depth with anything specific because there's so many things out there. But Microsoft 365, every level of service with it now includes free multi-factor authentication. Isn't that correct, everyone?
That's right.
Yep, absolutely.
So, is it hard to turn on?
It's, that's a great question. And I think before we even get into there, we need to find out we really need to explain what multi-factor authentication is, right? The three pieces of it, right? Yeah. So what is it? It's something that like I said, maybe your vacation in 1943 that you had way back when, or your honeymoon or whatever, or a password or a PIN. It's something that you have. That could be like a fob or your mobile phone, right? On your mobile phone, you'll get a text for MFA purposes, or something you are, which could be, as Jim mentioned earlier, face recognition, but it could be a fingerprint on your computer. It could be voice recognition. It could be any of those. Mm-hmm. So the question is it difficult to put on Office 365? I don't think it's difficult. I think it's a little bit of a pain. But once it's done, it's safe.
I would say in answer to the question of is it hard to turn on, when you're talking about from a perspective of a product like Microsoft 365 or even the Google Suite, the professional business suite, it could be for just a general user, it might be a little bit involved to turn it on, but your IT person should be able to do that handily. That it's not a technically difficult aspect. It's just necessarily knowing where to go to do it.
Why aren't people using multi-factor authentication, guys?
I think they're scared of it. It's a little bit intimidating. and if you're not tech savvy, and it feels like another intrusive thing, another hindrance in a sense, and you want it
I'd
easy.
say fear of the unknown, and then just one more thing that we have to deal with in this time when there's already an overwhelming amount of new things we're dealing with.
It's too much trouble.
The feedback I get is, oh, I don't want to be inconvenienced by it. It's either inconvenience, or sometimes somebody doesn't want any software or something on their mobile phone, depending on what employee that is in the organization. Like sometimes an administrative person, oh, I don't want something corporate on my cell phone.
Well, another aspect too, you're right, Brandon, that brings up a great point. We have a client recently who we were talking to, and they're in an industry where they need to meet compliance standards. Part of their policies and processes is that they don't allow mobile phones that are owned by their employees to be used in any capacity for the business. So now I have a situation where I can't put an app or have a text message sent to a mobile device, and I need to do the other thing Adam mentioned is use like a fob, like a YubiKey, or a device that I can plug in. That's right.
Like that.
There you go,
Or an RSA code we used to have in the old days, the counter. So it can be a cost factor in some cases.
Yeah.
I have seen some success, and look, guys, correct me if I'm wrong. This is every aspect of security, right? Every time we come up with a way to try and help secure our business clients, it's another inconvenience. Security inherently in their mind immediately means inconvenience.
Yep.
Well, what are we trying to do? We're trying to circumvent inconvenience, right? Like, take away their email account for a day, change the password, and don't give it to them. They'll understand inconvenience in a really big way.
Really fast.
100%. And part of our challenges, I think, as business owners, is you don't want a competitor going into one of your clients and doing an audit and saying they get a hold of the right person and saying, "Oh, you guys aren't using multi-factor. I don't know what your IT company's doing."
Right.
So I find myself, we all know who that key person is in our clients that we need to talk to and get their buy-in. You get their buy-in. We're enforcing this for everybody. We'll deal with the repercussions, but we're enforcing it. And you get that buy-in. I mean, and then take the heat for it. After a week, it's going to go away. It's just going to be normal.
I think you made a really good point right there, Brian. Well, I don't think that most customers, even most of our customers in most companies, even really understand or know that it's available to them. First off,
right.
And I think that there's a disservice that's being given to the customers of IT companies that aren't talking about it, right? And so that's one thing, ignorance. I just don't know what it is. To Dave, to your point though, the security and inconvenience, I always use this analogy. I said, how many of us, I do like in-person presentations, and I said, how many of us is driven to work? Do you consider, that where you park somewhat safe, And most people say no, right? But you lock your door, okay? And because you don't want your car broken into. Now, I said, how many people have a car that you park at home? You consider where you live safe? And everybody raises their hand. Yeah, pretty much. I say, and do you lock your car at home in an area that you consider safe, right? And they said, yeah. Well, what's the inconvenience there? Okay. Well, I can push a button. Okay. Well, when you type in a password, you can push an alert on your phone. It's no different, right?
It's not like it's an all-day thing either. It's just it's an initial, extra couple of seconds it takes to do something, and then you're good.
Yeah.
Well, to play devil's advocate, though, it is an inconvenience compared to not having to put in that code or whatever it is. But at this point of, let's call it the cyber landscape, where we are today as businesses, threats, different things like this, it's a cost to do business now. It's just something that everybody has to do. And if you have a bank account, they're going to force you to do multi-factor nowadays because it's just that important, right? Like I want to see a show of hands. Like, does anybody have a bank account that they log into that it does not force them to do multi-factor, a text message, something else anymore? I know none of my accounts allow that.
I'm not sure I would work with a bank that's like that.
But it's probably against the federal regulations at this point. But to your point, Brandon, is it inconvenient to do that? Have you ever talked to anybody that's lost their identity to somebody and seen what an inconvenience
that is? No, I agree. It's a bigger inconvenience once you've actually lost or been hit. So
or if you lose all the money in your bank and they wire it to Russia, then what do you do?
This is what I see, though. So we have the conversation with our customers. This is not a situation where, our head's in the sand. We're not telling them about it. It's hey, you know what? Until they experience some pain, that's when I get a lot more buy-in that they're willing to move forward. That's been my experience.
Brandon, it's. I think somebody mentioned it. Might have been Dave Groot who mentioned it earlier. It's not just the inconvenience. It's more the fear. People think, oh my God, what happened? I'm having a hard enough time. I have to get password resets. Now what's going to happen if I have to get this reset? And it's on a weekend, and somebody has an issue with getting to their system, and they can't get tech support because it's a weekend, right? So it's all of that. It's just that fear, and if we can help them overcome their fear, I think we get a lot more buy-in, and we can do that with SSO, right? With single sign-on.
Yeah.
I think as well, it kind of ties into the passwords and different things, but it used to be where you could not go tech, you could not go in your email, but now with the Go Green paperless statements and stuff, that people are not getting the choice sometimes to get statements in the mail and be the old way of doing that they have to move into this, and we have to make it comfortable for them.
And if you do have the choice, it's the default now, typically, right? Yeah. Anywhere you set up an account, by default, you're getting the stuff to your email, unless you ask or opt in for paper.
Here's a really good example. You guys know we're broadcasting live on LinkedIn. Hey, everybody in the LinkedIn world. Before we could broadcast live on LinkedIn, my account, I had to set it up so that I had a two-factor authentication on my LinkedIn, so somebody couldn't fake broadcasting as me.
Right.
That's not even really that's that important from a security perspective. Nobody's going to steal money or anything like that.
Well, and that's a result of something we've all seen or heard about in the last couple of months, right? It's the Zoom. Everybody got hacked and their Zoom meetings got taken over, and now you have to be, either have a passcode to get into the meeting or you're in a waiting room, and it's the same with Teams and Google Meet and everybody else. So that is multi-factor authentication, right? You have a link to get to the meeting, but now you got to type in a password on top of that because we want to make sure you didn't, intercept that link. And frankly, the security landscape has matured. I'll use that word. The sophistication of these people is far and away way more better than it was 5 years ago, 2 years ago.
Oh, God.
And that just makes the multi-factor authentication, as everybody has said here, it's a default, it's a requirement. It's really not something that anybody should be considering. It's something they should just be doing.
Yeah. So let me play the dummy for a minute. And again, I'm playing the dummy.
No, Jim, just be yourself.
I'm playing the dummy, right? I slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Okay, here I am. Here I am on my Outlook, right? Okay. And I've got multi-factor authentication enabled. They enabled it. I did whatever I had to do, or my IT guy did whatever he or she had to do on my computer, right? And so when I open up Outlook, I'm not prompted for multi-factor authentication or anything like that. How's that protecting my email account? Anyone? Now, again, I'm playing dummy. I know the answer, but somebody tell me.
So you've got an app password, right? That's something your IT person has set up in the background.
Yeah, that's one way.
There's a token that drops onto your device every time you multi-factor authenticate to your Outlook or your Office 365 that is retained for until a particular event takes place. Either a certain amount of days goes by, you're on a new device, you log out. That's why you're not seeing it each and every time. However, if somebody goes to a different device and they try and log into your Office account, they're going to be prompted for that MFA.
So if somebody in some bad country somewhere, or even in the United States, some hacker element, bad actor, tries to log into Microsoft 365 with my username and password that they got somehow, what's going to happen?
They're going to be prompted to enter in the second authentication factor.
Or I'd probably get one, right? Because
it would push to your phone. If
I did the prompt, and I sit here and think like, I didn't try to log in somewhere. What happened? Right.
Well, that's a great point. So when you have these MFA apps on your mobile device and they come up and you didn't prompt it, what should you do? Don't do anything. Don't click OK. Don't approve. Don't authorize. Click deny.
I mean, that's a signal for sure that you need to tell your IT guy, your system admin, internal IT department, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly. All right, then. So that's how it protects me, right? What about? Let's talk about some of the things that are outside of Office 365. Can we two-factor authenticate on our laptops?
So yeah, absolutely. You know, everybody in my organization, we use something called Duo, and we have it set up that certainly, you know, when we log in, it prompts us on our phone to approve the login, and we put that on all of the servers that we're maintaining. And I try to talk the clients into it. Again, it's just one more thing that, you know, that they're afraid of, but we're making some headway. It's a great way to protect your computer. It's a great way to protect your network.
So when I try to log into my computer, what happens?
So you log into your computer. Of course, you put your password in, or your voice, whatever you have, and then a prompt comes up asking you to approve on your computer, asking you to approve your system. And then it comes up on your phone. You click approve, and it just lets you in. Or you can send a push, or you can send a text message. You get all those choices.
Yeah, Microsoft has kind of built that into Windows on some level as well with the Windows Hello. That, like, when you enroll into a Microsoft 365 environment, it forces the user. In many cases, a policy can be created to force the user to set up a PIN. So they put in their username and their password the very first time they log into the device, and Windows says, "Hey, let's make this easier on you. From now on, all you got to do is type in a PIN, create your PIN." Well, guess what? You still have a username and a password in play in the same way. There's a token on that device that can, and if your password changes or it times out or a certain period of time goes by, so you are multi-factor authenticating in Windows in many cases by default.
And I was just going to mention, in a lot of situations, you don't even need third-party applications. So like David, you were mentioning, hey, your business is already on Office 365. Now you got passwordless sign-on, push notifications right to your cell phone to be able to log in, things like that. So, there's plenty of solutions out there for businesses to look at.
It does not need to be expensive.
Let's go around the world real quick. Let's go around the world here real quick, and we're the world, right? Okay, and let's talk about the things that you guys would multi-factor authenticate protect, right? MFA protect, right? I'll start off, and I'm going to say it: Facebook. I believe Facebook.
My Facebook has been multi-factor protected for the last 4 years or better.
Dave Love, what would you MFA outside of just Microsoft 365 in your computer? What else would you MFA?
It's more business oriented for us, but our remote monitoring and management system is MFA'd, and our backups are as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that can have MFA should have MFA enabled. That's the short answer.
David, you're 100% right, and we will MFA. We do MFA anything we can, for our business.
I think Apple is even making you MFA your Apple ID.
You know what? A lot of people don't think about it, but my Authenticator app, if I'm going to use my Authenticator app, guess what I got to do? I got to face recognize my Authenticator app to even get into it for my from all of my various things. I mean, the list is freaking long, right? It's
back to multi-factor authentication. That's the multi-factor. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I got my multi-factor authenticator.
The one big thing that nobody mentioned is remote desktop or remote access to your office.
I was going to say VPN. I was waiting for somebody to say VPN.
VPN or remote desktop, anytime you're exposing anything like that to get back to your office, it's critical to have multi-factor.
There's a product being proposed to you, the business owner, that's going to allow remote connectivity to your office, and it does not support or have MFA. Run. Just get away from it, because it is not worth buying into.
Mm-hmm. We tell clients to, if they can, to ensure that whoever handles the back end of their websites, developers, programmers, that they have that enabled with logging, and monitor any type of change access on your website. You don't want that being hijacked either.
I think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, sticking onto that remote desktop or remote, everybody's working from home now, and I actually met with a prospective client a couple of days ago, who I found out in talking to them had actually been hacked and had $60,000 stolen from them earlier this year, and they on their own installed LogMeIn on several of the administrative computers when COVID hit and they had to work from home. And I said, well, do you have multi-factor set up on those LogMeIns? And they said, what is that?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, we need to talk, because you're you're letting someone access your computers from the internet with just a username and password. And hopefully that's not the same email address and password that you've used anywhere else that somebody's already gotten a hold of. So, that work from home thing is extraordinarily important. Make sure that all the ways, whatever it is, if it's, go to assist, go to my PC, VPN, log me in, all that stuff needs to have multi-factor.
How does this, now, I mean, we only got like 5 minutes left, but how do you guys think single sign-on plays into this conversation with multi-factor authentication?
I was just going to go there. If you can enable single sign-on on your computer and use some sort of password management software, then that takes some of the burden off you. You still have to use your MFA, of course, but that'll take that piece of burden, and it becomes easier then at that point. You just have to have the right software in place.
Well, there's pluses and minuses to it. So the key, and for clarification for everybody who is not on this right now, single sign-on is, hey, once I get to that single sign-on location, whether that be a web app, portal, whatever, then I can now I've opened the keys to the castle. I can log into every other system, whether it corporate, maybe even personal, that you've integrated into that single sign-on through that one password or that one login. So the downside to single sign-on is you've got one login that you need to make sure is as secure as possible.
And that's why you multi-factor authenticate the single sign-on, because when you multi-factor it makes sure that everything that's associated my computer, my Microsoft 365, my Dynamics 365, my SAP, all those things are multi-factor authenticated by that one token.
And what people don't think about, another benefit with single sign-on is a lot of times the applications you've integrated with single sign-on will redirect you to another place entirely, or you can't even log in on that location. So let's just say your Office 365 was set up with single sign-on and somebody tried to sign on the Office 365 page, they wouldn't even be able to, because they have to sign in through the SSO portal. So it's just another,
you can also limit that. Not that adds another part of a multi-factor is not who you are, what you know, but where you are, right?
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah, absolutely. No
Conditional
question.
access.
And if you have the right password management software with that SSO, it's a whole lot easier. It just does not have to be difficult. And as David Groot said, it does not have to be expensive. And as Brandon Bowers said, 100%, there are pros and cons, but the pros really outweigh the cons for this. And,
I'll say that I think one plug for all the technology specialists out there is that's why businesses need to work with a trusted advisor, tech advisor, because we're looking at the vendors that are going to provide some of these services and software, and we're vetting them. And if they don't provide this with their software package, that makes us run the other way and say, hey, we'll look better, harder at somebody. And then also the other thing is they need to also, like, their mind's probably going right now, but just like your house, you have your lock and you have your deadbolt. So it's just that 2 steps, and don't overcomplicate it. It's easy. Do it a couple of times, and you'd be surprised at how easy it becomes a part of a habit.
8 months ago, 95% of business owners said they will never have their staff work from home.
Yeah,
that's right.
Because it was too hard, it's too much, it's not safe, it's not that. Guess what? They're doing it now, and they're all finding that there's benefits to it. And
they love it.
It's the same analogy. Like, go with security. That's the better, safer bet.
Adam, if you don't mind, I mean, we'll probably go over just a couple minutes. Reboot us on multi-factor authentication. We talked about the pros and cons of it. We talked about the fear factors of it. What is the reboot? What should people do? What should business owners do to move forward with multi-factor authentication?
Yeah, so they should contact their IT professional, whoever that is, right? That's us. That's us. But whoever it is, and have it set up for sure. I mean, we've gone over the fact that passwords are great, but they fail us, right? They're not the perfect solution, so we need another solution. And so we know that multi-factor authentication is the way to go to help that solution. We know that it does not have to be rocket science. It does not have to be hard, and you don't have to fear it. So those are the things that we talked about. So certainly just go to your IT professional and have them set it up for you and have it explained to you. And I guarantee by the second or third day that you're using it, it's going to be old hat to you. It's going to be.
Are there going to be problems in the very beginning?
Of course there are.
Always.
Of course there are.
Right.
Can I add one quick thing?
Yeah.
All the business owners out there who are watching this, it's important to go turn this on for your users at your business.
Yeah.
Do not exclude yourself.
No.
Everybody needs to have this.
That's right.
The business owners are
That's the most critical. Yeah.
Right.
They're the hackers are going for the business owners. They're not going for the receptionist.
The receptionist isn't listed on the website, right? In the contact us page or the about us page. It's all the partners, the CFOs, the controllers.
All the
find it
people
on
who
LinkedIn and all over on LinkedIn.
And in many cases, their email address.
Yeah, right.
Go after anybody they can get into that network. Anybody they can. So it's going to be put on everybody. The business owners certainly most important. And in my experience, it's often the business owner who's most reluctant to do it.
That's right. So you need to start with yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I think this is a valuable reboot. You guys think the same?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Great conversation. Great conversation. Hey, if you're watching and you're interested, you have more questions about this, whatever platform you're watching on, I haven't been paying attention to the chat, so I don't know if there haven't been any chats, but make a comment, right? Like our material here. If you're interested and want to know, have some other questions about it, just make a comment. One of us will get back and answer that. We do the reboot every other week. And so what's the next date we're doing this, guys? It's
25th.
The 25th. What are we doing then, Adam? That's or whose idea was that for the topic? It's Adam's favorite topic, but somebody else's topic.
This was somebody else's. Mine was the MFA.
Black Friday.
Black Friday.
Tech
We're going to talk about valuable tech toys. Hey, Brandon, hop off. You got to go. Thanks a lot. It's tech toys. Since Black Friday is right around the corner, we're going to be talking about some of the tech toys that we all would like to get for ourselves, right? So it's give you an insight on some pretty cool tech toys. So for the reboot, guys, thanks a lot. I had a great time. You guys have a good time?
Yeah, we did. Thank
Always.
you.
That was good.
Take care, everyone. Be sure to subscribe to us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Guys.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.